Hello? Okay. Oh, they do. I hope I'm on mute. God, I hope I'm on mute.
Hi everyone, this is I here.
Hello, Dr. I.
Hello everyone.
Hello. Hello, Dr. I.
Hello everyone. So
Hello.
great to see you.
Yes. We're still waiting for some people to come. Then now we will be starting.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
Dr. Glenn, are you there?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could hear me earlier. I was.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Are we also going live on Facebook?
Probably not.
Oh, I
Yes.
see.
Yes,
Live on
Dr. I. But
Oh,
just
you are?
I'm
yes,
just
we are.
curious. Yeah.
We are live on
Yeah.
Facebook. Yes, but just on my personal account
Okay.
because I still didn't make the account for the college.
Hmm. So please,
Awesome. Then I
Dr.
can get the replay.
AI.
Yes.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam alaikum, Miss Oha, are you here?
Yes, I am with you.
Okay. Can you switch on your video, please? Is it possible?
Okay, no problem.
Okay. So we can see you. Okay. Thank you, Miss Soha.
Okay, welcome. Hi, Mr. James.
Hey, how are you, Ms. Zuha? How's everything?
Alhamdulillah. Hi, Dr.
Good,
Addyson.
good.
Yeah. Hey.
Hi,
I'm
how are you,
excited
ma'am?
to chat with everyone.
We are glad to have this opportunity. I mean, to have you in such a Zoom meeting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do this all the time. So yeah, really excited to share with everyone what I know about online learning, future-proof the next generation. Yeah, I'm excited.
We are also.
I think almost everyone is here. Okay. I think we're just on time. I think we should start already. While waiting for the rest of the faculty members. So good afternoon, everyone. Would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for making it possible for us to conduct this webinar. Of course, would like to greet everybody a Islamic greeting. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to everyone. A very good evening. It's very nice to see everybody's faces. Not everyone is on video, but I think it's great because we've been seeing each other in the campus wearing masks because of this COVID pandemic. So I would like to take this opportunity for thanking the faculty members for making their time and opportunity for us to have this webinar this evening. And of course, a few reminders before we start with our webinar session. Please always keep your microphone mute at all times so as not to disrupt the session. And also, we will be having a question and answer at the later end or the later part of the webinar, which would be 30 minutes. You will try to put your questions right on the chat box. I will try to catch that and give it to Dr. I, so she will be able to respond to those questions. And also, as a part of our quality improvement, we have the evaluation form at the end of the webinar session, which would be sent on the chat box as well as on our WhatsApp group. So that accomplished form, you need to accomplish it with your complete name as well as your complete email address so that you will be able to get the generated webinar certificate afterwards. So before we start, I think it's best for us to know first what is our status in terms of doing online classes and online teaching. I think Dr. I would be a great source of knowledge and of course information later on for us to assimilate in starting our classes when we go online. So I would like you first to answer this poll. I'm posting a question, one question. Can the participants, co-faculty, answer this according to your personal assessment on how do you think well prepared you are in the online teaching this semester? So we'll give it a few minutes. So we will see how many responded accordingly. Okay, so I think everybody did their votes in the poll. Okay, so let us see how we did. What happened? So how many percentage?
Screen says 0 now. I don't know what it
Says
says on your
0.
side. Okay.
Okay, can you vote again? Again, just a few minutes again because it went out afterwards.
I tried to vote. It wouldn't let me vote. Yeah. So, okay. Poll in progress. Baby steps, Dr. AI. Baby steps.
I think you see
there we
the
go.
results now, right? So majority of the faculty members, our participants says they are partially prepared, and about 25% says that they are fully prepared. So that is a good number, but I think we have to also equip ourselves more in order for us to be able to be fully prepared with our sessions this coming semester. So with that, I would like to start first with asking Ms. Soha in welcoming everyone to this webinar session. Ms. Soha.
Hello? Sorry. I know it's Mizzou. I just closed the poll.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, okay. Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. Really, I'm glad to see all of you here participating in this webinar today. Inshallah, it will be fruitful sessions for all of us, and all of us will be able to get a benefit. And really, thank you for sparing your times, inshallah, for this evening today. Welcome, all of you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Soha. I will now turn you over to Mr. James, the foundation coordinator, to give us a brief about the background of our reputed speaker for this evening. James, can you take over?
Well, I mean, technically, I think Miss Mesa is a coordinator, so, or she's a coordinator. I'm her assistant. Let's just say that. Okay. But anyhow, no problem. Dr. AI got her master's and PhD in communications from Syracuse University and the University of Maryland. I'll post the rest of her resume or whatever. I can post it probably on our WhatsApp group. But I just wanted to go over a few things that I thought was interesting that stood out for Dr. AI. I see that she's an Adobe insider. I don't know what that means. As far as I know, I don't know what it means. She went to.
I can just introduce myself. Yeah.
Hold on, I got one more for you, Dr. AI. So you visited a location called Hacker Way, and that was the Facebook headquarters. Let's see. She's a big advocate for computer literacy, which I think is pretty awesome. And she wants to, hold on, she has a message for parents that says, on her webpage, did you know that the grade point average is inversely related to innovation? So I guess that makes me like one of the most innovative teachers on our team. I don't know about that. And all right, I'll leave it at that. Go ahead, Miss Dr. AI. Go ahead and you can talk about
Totally.
all the fun stuff. Yeah.
So great to be connected with James. I think initially on Twitter and then later on Instagram. So I feel really honored to have this opportunity to chat with everyone and to share with you what I know. And I look forward to having a discussion later after my talk. And I definitely want to learn from everyone to see how online classes are conducted in Oman, and to see if we can actually learn from each other and to make online learning and online teaching more effective. So I actually have a really short slide to share kind of my story. And also I prepared a few tools to share with everyone. So I actually have kind of a quick introduction. So who am I, right? So many of you, James and I were connected on social media. Many of you are probably thinking, who is this lady, right? So this is a picture of where I was in the early stage of my teaching career. And as you can see, I was not happy. I was very depressed. I was really depressed college professor on quite a few levels. And so this picture was taken by my husband a few years into my teaching career. And I realized this was way before online learning, way before COVID. And I realized today's education model is broken, and we are not really preparing our students for the future. We're only preparing them for the past. And so really depressed. And fast forward to today, now I serve as the founder and I run my own school, which is Classroom Without Walls. I also serve as an education consultant. So now seeing the transformation in my students and the teachers that I work with, it's such a different experience. Like, for example, here you see from one of my students, he said that I have learned more in 10 days at one of my programs than 2 years at his business class. And now I start to hear comments like that from my students, from the teachers that I'm working with. And I also speak on stage talking about social media, digital literacy, working with different schools. So the picture on the left was, I gave a talk to a group of students in South Korea. The picture on the right was a talk, a keynote I gave to a group of social media practitioners in Jamaica. It was really exciting. And as James mentioned, I'm Adobe education leader. So what this means is that I work with Adobe in their education branch, using some of the Adobe tools to foster creativity, collaboration, and also my unique contribution, which I'm going to discuss later, is how to use social media as a pedagogical tool, how to use social media to teach our classes. So that is really my zone of genius. And recently, I have just become an Adobe Insider, which is a group of 60 people from all over the globe. It's like Adobe's influencer program. So we have early access to their software, and just like really nice group of people trying out their products and then share like what I'm doing right now. And I also work with HubSpot and HubSpot Academy, again, their education branch. And I develop workbook and online classes for them. My work has been featured in Forbes and Today Show. Inside higher education, again, here I was talking about using social media in the classroom to enhance student engagement, which is even more relevant in this day and age. And also got featured in Pearson Education. And so last year I was voted as one of the top 25 socially influential learning professionals of the year. And that was a really great honor. And recently, I'm a lifelong learner. I'm constantly investing in myself. So my students, my clients, my teachers, they get the best version of who I am. So recently, I have become a brain-centric certified. So what they do is that I learn more about neuroscience and then design my class in a way that students are meant to learn. I'm so passionate about this topic. And I think this is something that every single educator needs to know basic, how our human brain actually functions, so we can teach our students in a way that is captivating, that is engaging to the students. I will talk about this briefly in my talk today. And here are some other places that my work has been featured. I also host two very popular live streaming podcasts. And here are some of the thought leaders I have interviewed. All of them are based in the US. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but all of them are thought leaders in education, in business, and entrepreneurship. So this is kind of my journey and my story from being a really depressed professor to like a fulfilled, passionate educator, changing students and teachers' lives. And I have been on this journey for quite a few years. And I want to share with you some of the key lessons that I have learned. And so one of my favorite quotes, to illustrate my transformation. So when I was still teaching in the traditional school environment, and I taught in the classroom for 10 plus years, I worked with almost 3,000 students. So I used to complain about my students. So let me know in the chat box if you do the same thing, complaining about students. They're so lazy, they're so entitled, they don't care. I used to do that all the time with my friends. But now seeing the transformation in my students and my own children, and I started to homeschool my own children after they started complaining about school. They are both transformed. So now seeing the transformation in the students I work with, in the teachers I work with, in my own children, I ask myself a much better question, which is what is wrong with today's education? So this is my favorite quote: when a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower. So when I look at the flower, I think about our students. Our students are like the precious flowers. When they are not blooming, we shouldn't blame the students, label the students, troublemaker, A students, C student, oh, those are the bad students. We shouldn't do that. We should fix the environment in which our students grow. We should change our pedagogy. We should change the environment and how we are teaching and nurturing the next generation. So that's kind of, I have more slides I will show you, but I want to stop share here so you can see my face. So that is kind of like a background I want to share with you to prepare for the talk. So now I'm going to share with you a few key discoveries that I have found on this journey and literally seeing the transformation. I call them secrets or rules that every parent and educator needs to understand in order to future-proof the next generation, to make teaching more relevant, more transformative. So I'm going to use my whiteboard, and so I hope you can see my writing well. So the first thing that I learned is, oh my God, look at what my children did. Oh my God. I have to break this into pieces. And so let me erase this. So the first thing I learned is academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg to future-proof the next generation. And I have quite a few studies to back this up. And so can you guys see this? Okay, academic, yeah, let me move my.
Actually, I can't on my side. Hold on. Okay, if you double click on Dr. AI's picture, I just realized this. I don't know if you know. Okay, now I can see you wrote academic learning tip of the iceberg.
Can you see better? Okay, yeah. So academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg to future-proof our students. And ever since COVID, I have been on so many webinars, talks like this, working with parents and running my own school. Most parents, they come to me, they ask me, hey, Dr. I, and like I'm really concerned about my own children. What should I do? Certifications, GPA, grade point average, academic performance, this, and that. I was like, wrong. That is the wrong focus. Okay. So I'm going to share with you a few key studies to illustrate this point. So James already mentioned this. So in the US, we call this a grade point average. So which is pretty much academic performance. Research has shown GPA, this is based on a huge study of students from quite a few different countries. And so GPA is actually inversely related to innovation. So in other words, the higher the GPA, the less likely that the student is to innovate. That's a huge aha moment for most teachers and parents, right? The implication is profound. If we are thinking about asking our students to be innovative, to be future ready, then using GPA is the wrong benchmark, okay? So that is the first case in point to illustrate academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg. So I love to use big name brands, okay, to really show these points. So Google, and this was the interview that Google did with the New York Times and quite a few media outlets a few years ago, and maybe 3 years ago. And they mentioned very clearly in the interview that they stopped using test scores like degrees and GPA, grade point average, as a hiring criteria when they are looking and searching for candidates, college grads to work for Google. I have big quotes and I can share the articles with everyone. And they said that scores are useless when it comes to hiring, okay? So that is from Google. And recently, and Google, I don't know how many of you actually read this on the news, and they announced Google is actually launching their own career certifications to replace the traditional 4-year college. And so for their own certifications, you only take 6 months and $300. So if you pass their own certifications, and Google will hire you, and they will use their own certificates to replace the 4-year college. And guess how many companies have joined Google? 20 plus companies. And they no longer use degree as a requirement to work for those companies. And I'm not talking about no-name companies. I'm talking about Google, Apple, IBM, Starbucks, all those companies. So those are the trends that forward-thinking educators need to understand. Traditional learning, you are only looking at scores, and it's not going to help our students. There is so much more beyond what they are learning, you know, from a text, from a textbook, from an exam. And so what we learned from all of those is so experience is more important than degrees. And so here is one of my favorite education or learning or leadership model, which is called how many of you have ever heard of this? Let me know in the chat box. It's a 70-20-10 model. Have you ever heard of this? So what this model means is that when we are looking at a student or any like teachers, for anyone to transform from A point where you are today to the future, to the B point where you want to be. So for this transformation, there is a process and there is a bridge. So the bridge is the 70-20 model. So what this means is that for any learner, for any human being to transform, and only 10% of that transformation comes from, guess what? So only 10% comes from traditional formal learning, you know, like what you are doing right now, watching a webinar, reading a book, taking an online class, go to an in-person class, that is only 10%. Guess what? Almost every single school that I have worked with, they only look at the 10%. And if that is the case, if you are only working on the 10%, you are missing the bigger picture. So what is the 20%? The 20% is social. So 10 is formal learning, and 20% is social learning. So it is so important to create that social atmosphere for learning, you know, peer-to-peer discussion, having a community. This is so important. And you know, later, my next point, I'm going to discuss online learning. And like research has shown, if students are only watching pre-recorded videos, they are not learning. They are also not developing important 21st century skills, such as collaboration, communication. So if they are only watching pre-recorded videos, it's just not effective learning. Okay, so 70%. Anyone wants to give this a try? What is the 70%?
Life experience.
Yes, life experience and experiential learning.
Right.
And that's why I'm a huge advocate of project-based learning, bring learning to the public space, you know, validating your idea, sharing your idea with the general public, learning, you know, here's my mark. So we believe the best education happens outside the classroom. So now you listen to my talk, you know, regardless how good or how bad this is, maybe a point resonates with you, but if you are not going to do anything regarding what I mentioned, you are just going to waste an hour. Because if you are only looking at that 10%, you are not going to absorb the knowledge. Information does not lead to transformation. Information plus application will lead to transformation. So application, experiential learning is really important. So, okay. So that's why, you know, look at the 10%, why academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg. So that's my very first big discovery as a teacher. And as a result of this, I now teach my classes very, very differently. And so I'm going to discuss the second point, which is based on this 70-20-10 model. And so second point is my second big discovery. So most online classes suck, and most online classes are just not good. And I don't even know how many conversations I had with the parents, with the students, and also teachers. You know, oftentimes students come to me with tears in their eyes, like, I'm not learning. This class is just so, I feel like tortured, right? So I want to share with you a few tips that I kind of use to really improve my own online learning. Okay, so going back to the So going back to the 70-20-10 model, right? So right now everything's online, and the 10% was pretty bad, right? So traditionally, you go to a school, you go to a class, you sit on your chair. So that is the sage on the stage model. The sage on the stage model is broken. So what is the new model to replace the sage on the stage, which is guide on the side? So as a teacher, you want to be the guide on the side, as opposed to be, you know, everybody listen to me, the sage on the stage. And so the 10% was pretty bad before, right? Students are like very disengaged in the class. I have lots of research. Gallup, and they did a huge study, and millions of students they surveyed, and students mainly from the US and from different countries. So they discovered student disengagement rate is really, really high, above 50%. And here's the sad part. So as students grow older, they become more and more disengaged. Not more and more engaged, but more and more disengaged. So when you look at younger children, they are more like, hey, this is really cool, this is really fun, more innovative. But when you look at older kids, like, oh my God, another class. I don't know if you can resonate with me. When I was teaching in the classroom, every time when I canceled the class, my students, they were like, yeah, hooray, class is canceled. They were so excited. Like, can you resonate with me on that? So they couldn't care less. So the 10% was pretty bad before. Now with COVID, everything has become even worse. And so completion rate for online classes is actually as low as 15%, very, very low. And my own students, they frankly tell me, hey, you know, like online classes is a struggle for us. We can't finish. We don't even watch the videos and all sorts of issues. And now it has just become worse. So here are a few ways that I do to improve the 10% to make online class more engaging, more fun, more relevant. So first, you know, you have to understand some of the basic. I assume all of your classes are taught through Zoom, right? So Zoom has breakout rooms. I use that. And I also ask students, I can ask you now, hey, can you give me some feedback, right? Use an emoji. How am I doing? Are you learning something from me? And is this beneficial to you? Or you can use the pooling feature, you know, serving students feedback. So all those are really, really great ways to engage with the students. And also teachers do not lecture, it doesn't work. And so like what I do today is actually not a good way to engage the audience. And you want to engage the audience.
Oh, Dr. AI, can I pause you for, cut you off? Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
So, yeah, like for example, I'm trying to give you a thumb up or do an emoji on my phone and I cannot find it. You get, I mean, that's where I'm at. You get what I'm saying? Oh, there, I found it. Okay. In the chat box. So if you're looking for it, it's in the bottom right-hand corner, 3 dots. Everyone give, excuse me, Dr. AI a thumbs up or something to show
I
her.
love it. And again, this is based on research. I frequently ask my students, okay, so let's do this right now. Hold on. Let me share my screen.
Okay. And this is where you're talking about the collaboration.
So right now we're still
guide on the slide. Okay, go ahead.
Just like the formal learning, and then I'm going to talk about collaboration. I have more tools and tips to share with everyone. So I wonder if you can go to this link, joinpd.com. So right now, if you can switch your screen, use your phone or your computer to go to enter this link, joinpd.com. And once you're on the website, they will ask you to enter a code. So this is the code on the screen, CJPFLF.
Okay, so we have to manually type in join PD?
Yes.
Join PD. So manually type in join PD and then .com and then the password or whatever is CJPFLF. Okay, yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Are you guys there? Let me know.
Yeah, we didn't know that we're like, I think Dr. Glenn, we kept it so like, I guess everyone's on mute. So, but until question and answer.
Yeah, first student connected, someone connected, yes. Okay. Who is this first amazing? Oh, 2, yeah. So here, so this is something that I really enjoy using, and the code for those of you who are still looking for the code. So the code is here. And so can you click on how you are feeling right now?
What's the web page of students? Joinpd.com?
Yes, joinpd.com. And so the code is on the screen.
Right, I see it. Okay, I'm going to give it a shot now.
feeling pretty good. See, I see the response on the screen. And so this is a way, and 2 out of 3 people responded, and I'm waiting for the rest of you to get to this page. This is a fun way, you know, even to make the 10% more interesting, how you're feeling.
Right.
And research has shown when you are actually using emoji and you evoke emotion, right? So learning is an emotional journey. If you are a teacher showing up as a robot, you never smile, you are just like, you know, like really literally like a robot, your students are not going to learn. You need to show up like as a human being. You know the phrase, like teachers do eat apples. So you want to show up as a human being. So when you can do simple exercise like this, you are like, you know, evoking, activating their emotion. And students love it. They're like really fun. I see a heart that makes me feel so good. Someone is feeling bad right now. So, but you can see, right? You can share or hide the response. So we're going to go back to this later to do a reflection. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm in there and they just said, how are you feeling? That's it. Now what?
Yeah, so
go
that's
back
it.
to the
You
Zoom
can customize
meeting?
the question.
Okay.
And I have, I think I prepared 5 questions or so. And but like some of the questions we're going to use later. Yeah, so here just
So
like.
do you have the results of that right now? Do you in your like, because like I just answered it. So you have 5 responses, right? Okay,
Yeah,
and it's
so 5
processing.
responses. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
good.
no worries. Yeah, feel free to interrupt me. And I actually love to make this more interactive, not just me talk all the time. So any other questions related to, we're going to go back this slide later. I have a few more interactive exercise to do with you. But thank you so much for your participation. Where is my Zoom screen? Where are you?
Right. If anyone wants to be unmuted, can you like raise your hand in the chat or raise your hand physically? Well, I guess don't raise your hand now because you're screen sharing, right? Dr. AI, are you done?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I finished this part. Yeah, hold on.
Actually, James, they can unmute themselves now.
Oh, they can. Okay, so if you want to unmute, thank you, Dr. Glenn. That's so high speed. All right, I will, I guess, Dr.
Oh, that
Glenn
tool
or
I
Dr.
shared with you is called Parrot Deck. So free to use. Of course, they have like a paid version, but I have been using the free one, which is pretty good. You can ask people, you can ask them questions, they can share their answers, and you can show see people's answer on the screen, and lots of other features. And so also in terms of the 10%, and so let me share my screen again. So I shared with everyone that recently I have become certified by a group of neuroscientists, you know, to learn more about neuroscience and how to teach a way that students are meant to learn. So I learned the challenge wheel, which is a different way to present my information. You know how traditionally you show up, you make your slides. Hey, everybody, students, we're learning 5 points today. This is the first point. This is the second point. It's just like so boring. So a better way to present your information is actually using this challenge wheel, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 core components. I don't have time to dive into this today, but if those of you, I normally do a 1 hour separate training on this, but I want to show you how ineffective the traditional way of lecturing is and what is a better way. So for every single class or session that I teach my students, I always start with a challenge, and I will ask my students to share their initial thoughts, and I introduce multiple perspectives on the topic, and then I will ask students to practice a reflection, which we as a group are going to do. You will see the 3 reflection questions that I use. Again, those questions are developed based on neuroscience, very effective. I use those questions with my own children. They just love it, and revise and report out. Okay, so this is a much better model, a way to structure your lesson compared to the old way. Okay, so that is, stop sharing. So that's kind of everything, we discussed Zoom, using the breakout room. Do you guys know breakout room? That you use breakout rooms, you use the pooling, and you use like chat, hey, and give the emoji and ask each other. So all those, and I also share Pear Deck, and also I share the challenge wheel. So if you use any of them or all of them in combination, and students will be engaged, and you are going to improve the course completion rate from 15% to a lot higher. Students will be like, wow, I love this. And they're also talking to the camera, some really simple skills that you need to keep in mind. Like, for example, you want to look at the camera. So right now I'm actually looking at the camera, not looking at myself. So look at the camera. So students feel like, hey, my teacher is actually looking at me. I'm feeling more engaged. And what I learned from teaching online classes for so many years is online teaching is so much harder than face-to-face. You have to bring in so much more energy to be passionate. If you want your students to be interested in what you are talking about, you have to, be interested in what you are discussing. So those are just kind of some of the soft sides. Okay, so that's the 10%. And how am I doing on time? Okay, I probably don't have time to discuss.
40.
Yeah.
Okay, I keep hearing you say old way, new way. When we've heard that a lot as teachers, but here's what I want to know. Whose methodology would you prefer? B.F. Skinner or Noam Chomsky?
What do you mean? Explain.
Well, B.F. Skinner was more of a behavior.
Yeah.
And then Chomsky is, it just kind of happens, language acquisition device.
I'm definitely against the behavioral. This is what I share with, if you do reward punishment. So are you guys familiar with Daniel Pink? So Daniel Pink talks about intrinsic motivation. So 3 key factors for intrinsic motivation: mastery, autonomy, and purpose. So you want to help your children understand and uncover what they're interested in, what they want to study. You don't want to show up as a dictator, right? Learn this, do this. And if not, if you do this, I will give you a flower or candy. If you don't do this, I will give you a timeout. So when you do that for a long period of time, you are taking away children's intrinsic desire to learn. They are learning for the sake of that $5. They are learning for the sake of that $10. They are learning because they don't want to be punished, right? And maybe I can share now. So actually, to follow up on this point, and human beings, we actually have 3 brains, not just 1, but 3. So neocortex, which is a prefrontal lobe, and the middle one is the limbic brain. So the neocortex is the thinking brain, the rational decision making. The limbic brain is the feeling, the emotional one. And the last one is the reptilian brain, which is fight and flight and freeze, the survival, the protecting myself and being chased by a tiger, I run. So what is interesting about the limbic brain is there's one organ inside the limbic brain called amygdala. And so what happens is when information enters our brain, the information has to go somewhere. The information can go either to the higher level rational decision thinking or go to the lower level to fight or flight. So when students, amygdala functions as an emotional filter. So when students are relaxed, they are enjoying this. So when information comes in, the information goes to the neocortex. So they practice, rational decision making and thinking, processing information. However, when the student is afraid, is scared, so when they are in that state, when information enters our brain, information actually goes to the reptilian brain, which is to fight or flight. It's not an ideal state for students to create, to be innovative, to be creative. But unfortunately, that's why this behavioral model doesn't work, because we automatically hijack the brain. So students are entering the fight and flight state. And when they're in that state, it's time to run, right? There's a tiger chasing me. I will do whatever you ask me to do, but it's not like deep intrinsic learning. And that's why this model doesn't work. And you can see this from the neuroscience perspective. So I'm not an advocate of that. You know, I'm an advocate, as I mentioned earlier. You guys should definitely check out Daniel Pink, if you're now familiar with his work. So the 3 factors: mastery. You want the students to have a sense of mastery. Hey, I learned this like playing a game. I passed stage 1. Now I'm on to stage 2. And now I'm going to finish stage 3. So a sense of mastery. You also want to give them autonomy. You know, I trust you. I give you the freedom to work on this. Not like a helicopter, like a dictator. I'm watching you. If you don't do this, you will be punished. But you don't do that. You trust the students as independent learners. You give them the autonomy. And last but not least is purpose. Learning is a personal journey. Learning should be inside out. You want them to discover why they're learning what they learn. So more importantly, what's the relationship between what I'm learning to my life right now? And this is a missing piece. So if you really want to connect with your students, teach your classes well, and you want to make an effort to connect, you know, you guys teach health science, healthcare professionals. So how is what you are learning right now going to benefit your life right now? You need to draw that connection. Otherwise, it's 1 year in, 1 year out, and just like it's not an ideal state for them to remember knowledge retention. So definitely check him out. Yeah. Any other questions? So I want to briefly talk about the social. You know, like I feel like right now in the US, many students are actually having lots of mental health issues because they really miss socializing with their teachers, socializing mostly with their classmates. And unfortunately with COVID, you just cannot do that. So this is what I'm really passionate about, which is to actually bring in social media, to use social media as a community building, to really create that 20%, to create that social atmosphere, to make learning more enjoyable, right? And I don't know about you, like for me, after I watch your video or after I take a class, I want to talk about this with someone. I want to have a debrief session. I want to digest what I have learned. So I need to communicate. I need to share that. But if you are only meeting with your students, maybe once a week or maybe a few times a week, you know, for an hour, those hours are not enough, because education, you know, learning happens outside the classroom. So you want to be with the students when that learning actually occurs. So what I did for all of my classes is I actually create a Facebook group. And I have an example here. So yeah, so this is one class that I teach. I'm just using this as an example. But for all the classes, every single class that I teach, I actually create a Facebook group. So some of my students, they say, I'm not even on Facebook. I was like, yeah, totally fine. Just create a fake account. So they come here and you can see, like we do discussions. I ask students to do videos, to post the emojis. I do announcement. Students really talk and they help each other. And I also upload my lecture videos here. They can watch my video. And so all the licenses are organized under units. There's unit 1, number 2, number 3, and students can mark themselves. It's just like really, really effective. I give them some additional tips, and students, they can create their own private rooms to chat with each other. I can look at the members who is active. I can also create events. Like for example, yeah, here live Q&A with Dr. I. So it's probably I'm doing an office hour or I also interview professionals in my industry. And so students oftentimes they join, like for example, Mark Schaefer is the top 10 marketer in the globe. So I interview him, my students join. You guys are healthcare professional, so you can easily create, like, look, this is an event, you know, like when to come, I ask the students to sign this up, and so they will join me live. Yeah, I have quite a few like such live events. This is when I do my office hour, and I just go live in my own group. And
I mean, is this your
students
class? Is this considered a, sorry to interrupt
Yeah,
you. Is this
is a class?
This is
Yeah,
your, like,
so this is
this, okay, so, okay, yeah, go ahead, I'm listening.
yeah, so this is just like, remember I talked about the 20%. So this is just an online community that I have created to supplement the 10%. So the 10%, hey, we're in a class like what we're doing right now, but the class is over. You want to keep the conversation going. You want to create that sense of community and to make learning more effective. And I'm telling you, after I created, like started creating Facebook group for every class I teach, my engagement, my course completion rate, my course evaluation, like all improved, because we are being with our students where they are, and we are giving them a community, and my students are getting to know me. Sometimes we have a morning coffee hour, so I bring my mug, and I will just have like 20 minutes chat with my students, checking on them. It's especially relevant now, right? And I just love doing all those live streaming shows. I interview a leading professional who come here, and I also have like different assignment ideas, like talking about the 70%, which is project-based learning. I have lots of school like assignments, but I probably don't have time to share. But anyway, yeah. But you see, I'm using the 70-20-10 model, even with COVID, right? Right now, everyone's complaining about online learning, blah, blah, blah. And I disagree. I think there are so many things that you can do because it is actually online than what that is otherwise impossible, right? So for example, a quick example, in the past, we have done cross-institutional Twitter chat. We have done a global LinkedIn job search analysis, like students from different countries, we collaborate on one project. And later this year in October, and my friends and I, we are organizing a global classroom. Last year, we had students from 34 countries joined this like global classroom event. And this year, we are probably going to have even more, like thousands of students, you know, in a global classroom. You cannot do that with the traditional in-person learning environment. And all those speakers who are like six-figure, like speakers, they charge six-figure just for one talk. But that because I network with them, they know me, so they all come to my class to chat with my students. And my students are actually networking. My students have networked through me with people at Forbes and like all sorts of amazing people. Yeah, so that's kind of how I implement the 10 and 70, 20, 10.
Okay, we have a question from Ark. He said, how do you manage if a student doesn't want to use social media like Facebook?
Yeah, I will tell the students, and so just create a fake one if Facebook is not your thing. The reason I choose Facebook is because Facebook has the best like community management features. You can go live, you can celebrate a student's birthday. I will know, hey, it's your birthday coming off and happy birthday. Or sometimes as a group, we'll do a happy birthday dance. You want create a sense of belonging. It's not just a class. We're here as a family, you know, like corporations, they do team building. When students are more emotionally invested in you, they are more engaged in the class. So that emotional connection is so important, right? As the saying goes, people don't remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. So you want to make sure that your students are actually feeling appreciated. They are feeling that I belong to this class, not just like a robot. like no smiling, just like so serious all the time. Listen to me, I'm going to punish you. If you don't listen, there's a pop quiz by the end of the class. So all those old practices, you are just going to, you know, shut off the students, you know, turn them off, turn them away from learning. Yeah.
Let me
So,
ask
and
you
also, and I
what
don't have
social
time to
media are
talk
you
about-
using?
What's that?
What social media are you using?
So I use
And
a lot,
texts.
and I don't have time to talk about this today. I actually have 6 major discoveries. Another one is using social media. Social media is actually a powerful career building tool. And McKinsey, LinkedIn Learning, so many reports have identified digital literacy, digital storytelling is a very important skill. So I use Facebook for just kind of creating that 20% learning community. And besides that, all of my students, they are required to be on LinkedIn. It doesn't matter you come from the healthcare professional background or the social media background or the psychology, whatever you do, it is so important to have an online presence, professional online presence to build up your digital footprint. And I say this because this is really backed up by a solid body of research from Adobe, from McKinsey, from LinkedIn. They are all saying digital storytelling is a very important skill. Students need to understand they are entering today's show me economy. Show me how good you are, as opposed to, you know, I have a resume, you are telling me how good you are on that resume, but you need to show me how good you are, right? So like show me, the best way to show me is actually creating something, having a website, and we're launching a podcast. My students, they launch a podcast. And actually one of my students, she recently launched a live streaming podcast. And she got a job. She's sophomore. She hasn't even graduated from college yet. But that podcast got her a job. And her mom was so happy. Like it works. It is so important for students to be comfortable. Now we're talking about gig economy, remote working, and you have to learn how to talk to the camera, how to clearly articulate yourself, right? Like information interview. So my students will be doing information interview. And so as opposed to do the traditional, like I will email you some questions, you answer my questions. I actually ask my students to go live, like go live on Facebook as you interview this professional, right? How amazing is that? So after the interview, I will ask my students to practice. Can you actually use Canva to create a graphic image based on your interview? Can you actually get a few video clips out of this 30 minutes interview and post on different channels? All those are very, very important 21st century skills. If they like, they have to learn that, right, somewhere. And I think the best place for them to learn is while they are still at school. So all those are like some examples of projects that we do. I can give you another example, like for example, talking about LinkedIn. And also, so this is Facebook. Yeah, so here is the OECD, Future of Education and Skills 2030. And I use this all the time to, you know, to inform myself on if I'm like teaching the relevant stuff. So once you click on core foundations, from the core foundations, you will see that they list a number of skills, right? Social emotional learning, nowadays we're talking about this, and digital literacy, right? Social emotional learning, data literacy, digital literacy, digital literacy. This is a very important skill. As I mentioned, you know, storytelling, story selling, and building a professional online presence. Like for students, it doesn't matter where they are right now. If they are in healthcare, they should be interviewing the top healthcare professionals in the globe. They should be launching their own podcast as they interview those people. They are practicing digital networking. They are practicing communication. They are practicing collaboration. They are building up their digital literacy. And on top of that, they're also developing their emotional intelligence, right? Understanding time zone differences when you reach out to people in different countries. I can go on and on, like so many so many benefits. At the same time, they're also learning what they are supposed to learn, right? And so here is like, I don't know if you want me. Okay, one last example, then I'll stop talking. So LinkedIn. So so one year I did this. So I use social media as a search engine. So I will actually teach my students to practice digital networking. So one thing we do is, for example, I want to become a writer. I just ask my student to search a hashtag and see, once you follow this hashtag, you can see all the people are talking about this. Like, wow, this post gained lots of engagement. So maybe this is person who is a thought leader, and I want to engage with this person. I want to build some connections, and even better, I want to interview this person. That's what I coach my students to do, to become a professional stalker, to connect with people in my industry so that I have a network, right? It's not about what you know, about whom you know. We all heard of that. So one year we asked our students to like, I don't know. So with LinkedIn, you can search based on, so you can actually search based on jobs. So I don't know if you can see here. So I entered healthcare consulting. I think you guys are in healthcare. I don't know if I'm wrong on this, but you can see all the positions will actually come up, right? So like the reason that I asked my students to create a LinkedIn profile is that when they apply, their LinkedIn profile will actually show up, right? I actually just finished a session with a group of high schoolers in the United States, in California. And I taught them about this digital networking, LinkedIn. They have no idea. They have no idea. But anyway, you can apply this. So one year, what we did was that we asked students to search for jobs. You can make this, right now it's jobs in the United States. You can make them global, different countries. So we ask students to look at all those job applications, to copy and paste what are the specific skills they're looking at. And so we had students from my classroom that was, and students from different classes. So we literally had hundreds of students to do the same job search. So after they did the job search, they copy and pasted all the description and skills into a huge Google Doc, Google Excel. So, and after they did that, we asked the students to analyze the data, literally thousands of jobs. So after they did that, and so they analyzed, they discovered the themes, right? What are the emerging themes for people who want to work in healthcare consulting? And after that, we ask students to do a reflection. So we give them a few reflection questions. What did I discover from doing this job search analysis? What are the emerging themes that I discovered? What are the skills that I have to get the position? What are the skills that I don't have, and how I plan to acquire those skills? So they wrote a LinkedIn article, and some of them did a Medium article, just like a blog article reflecting on that. So after the article, we asked the students to create 3 tweets based on that article. They have to create their own graphic image. We also asked them to share that on Instagram, to do an Instagram story about their article. Trust me, students have no idea to do that. Even though they are digital natives, they only use social media as entertainment. They have no idea. So after the article, so what we did was a final live streaming interview, in our case, with a healthcare professional in the industry, to join our live streaming session to chat with our students. It was such an incredible learning experience. But that is an example of how I incorporate social media as a pedagogical tool to do the 70%, to make learning more fun and to connect with the students, and at the same time teach them what they need to learn. And so yeah, that's kind of example. I have lots of examples like that, but you probably got my idea.
Great. Yes, Dr. Day, AI, agree. Actually, a lot of the things you're saying, I was already moving towards that, because originally I asked you to interview me, or I would interview you personally on social media. it kind of morphed into this more formal class. So
yeah, that's great. You know,
yeah.
besides interviewing me, and then so your students, they can connect with me through you. You have to teach your students because they don't have those skills. They don't know, you know, the 4C, communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking. They don't have communication skills. So here is, hold on, here's, let me share my screen. There was a big study that Adobe conducted last year. And that's why I feel like teachers need to walk the talk. Whatever we ask our students to do, digital networking, we have to practice this because most students have no idea. And so here is the study that came out last year, Adobe. I know this because I work with them. And so they talked about the importance of soft skills and creativity. And they analyzed, you know, 2 million job postings and 2 million like resumes. And so they discovered like quite a few important skills I'll share with you in a second, but interesting. And so after they did the study, they also discovered almost 70% of educators agreed that there's not enough emphasis on creativity, creative problem solving, and the soft skills in today's classroom. So here are the 5 skills: communication, creativity, collaboration, creative problem solving, critical thinking. Our students do not have those skills. That's why I love, you know, James, you interview me, even better. Can you design an assignment, ask your students to do an informational interview, to interview a professional in a different country, challenge them, right? That is the
Okay, yeah, I think that I think we definitely will do, or I will do. Yeah, we might actually be able to make that an actual assignment because I mean, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but from my side, there's a lot of experimenting. So there's a lot of trial and error. And a lot, you know, I would say probably 9 times out of 10, it doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to. And then that 10th time you get it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like so powerful.
But I would bring up one other thing. I want to bring up one other thing though. If you look at the social media, teachers, and how I found out about you was over the summer after we finished our classes. You know, I'm just watching social media, see what's going on, and all of a sudden, this army of teachers kind of came out with like the first one that I saw was Adobe Spark, and I thought originally this was a form of advertisement. They were making fake profiles to promote this application. I genuinely thought it was. And it turns out that these teachers, these are legitimate teachers, like they're actual teachers. And, you know, as an HR rep on my side, I would definitely be looking at teachers' social media and thinking like, wow, I don't know if I want to hire that person solely based off their social media. You want to discuss that? That's something interesting.
Yeah, others, like nowadays, I run my own company. I frequently hire people. We have a group of digital mentors to coach our students. And I look at their social media big time because I made a mistake. Before, I was only looking at their resume. Some people can look so amazing on resume, but I have to see them on camera, like to see more social proof. Yeah, like, you know, having that professional online presence is so important. Yeah, and I love Adobe Spark. So Adobe Spark is always how my students are actually doing reflection. And it's just like such a powerful tool. Yeah, like my own children, they started using Adobe Spark since 6 years old. So they do book reflections or learning reflections. And with Adobe Spark, I love it because you can also collaborate. And do you know that feature? So you can have people from different countries to actually practice collaborative storytelling. So that's what I do. Like one kid is working on this story, another kid is also working on this story. It's like a Google Doc, and you can collaborate.
Yeah, I do like the idea of focusing on that collaboration, especially, you know, I'm really trying to get that going amongst us teachers, at least in my group. That's like my top priority. It's a different type of collaboration than online.
Yeah,
but
and that is like, it's important, right? Remote learning, remote collaboration. I think this is the Adobe Spark page that I created. Like I talk about, see, like you can easily create something like this. It took me half an hour, really, really easy. And like share my passion for education. And it's so easy to me and some of my students. And so I asked students to do one for each of them for my class, the end of the term reflection, screenshot, before, after, what you have learned. They send that. It's just so easy. And they have some social proof, some digital footprint they can share, the show me economy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is my kid
Okay.
using this, creating
right.
quite a few Adobe Spark pages.
That's great. All right. I don't want to hog you the whole time. I didn't know if anyone else was out there
Yeah.
in the chat.
Dr. I, are we ready
Dr.
for the
Glenn, thank
yeah,
you.
question and
Okay.
answer for the faculty members? If any of you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and actually ask Dr. I personally about what you've learned and or what are the things that you want to ask about her topic this evening. If you have some questions. So let me start with one personal question. Actually, the use of social networking sites is a very close topic to my heart because the last published paper I have has to do with the utilization of social networking sites in 5 countries among nursing students and healthcare students. Dr. I, how do you put what do you call this one, a limit on the utilization of the social networking sites in terms of it can be used for the purpose of learning and of course improving study habits, but also it has some bad effects, as we know now that the student population, the generation, the digital age generation of the students, they most likely use social media for some other purposes. So how do you delineate that, the role of the facilitator and the teacher? How do you step in with that
Yeah,
role?
it's such a great question. I love it, this question. And I think, a few ways to handle this. So first, and what I did was, because most students, when I first started using social media as a learning tool, they were like, oh, this is my personal space. It's for fun. I don't want to use it that way. So how I tackled that was that I showed them research, like what I did earlier, right? Digital literacy. This is an important 21st century skill. People are looking for your skills to practice storytelling and story selling. And also I will invite guest speakers or digital mentors to come to my class. And almost every one of them will be saying that I will actually look at your social media presence before I hire you or before I decide if I want to interview or not. And when students hear that, like, what? It's always an aha moment. So I will actually introduce multiple perspectives. So students are actually not only learning from me, like this professor thinking that social media, we should use it, but actually, from different people who are reinforcing how important it is for them to have a professional online presence. So in terms of the negative effects of social media, I agree, social media, they are designed to make you be addicted, right? I read a interview before. It was an app developer. So their number one benchmark to look at is how many hours a user is actually spending on the platform. The longer they spend on the platform, the more funding they will actually get. So there is that intention when those people are actually designing the apps. So we need to keep that in mind. And however, just like many parents I work with, they just completely ban social media. And even in the US, many like primary, middle school, high school, K-12, they just ban social media. But that's not also a sustainable solution. If this is something really important that students need to learn, I'd rather be the person to teach my students than like them on their own, figuring this out, making so many mistakes, right? So like I also keep that in mind. And I have discussions with students, right? Like for example, I will invite like a social media person to the class, and this person will share, hey, guys, kids, everything that you see online is only the teeny tiny aspect of what I do. I will actually only share pictures when I'm feeling good. When I'm feeling like crap, I don't even share pictures. So you want to demystify the social media celebrity a little bit. So students will actually understand, okay, what I'm seeing from this picture is not the entire representation of this person's life. It's only the shiny aspect. Most students don't even realize that, right? Like having discussions and having such a discussion and talking about mindset, talking about mindfulness, all those things at the same time using this. So I think, just like we have to do all of them to make sure that our students are actually having a healthy relationship with social media as opposed to be a victim of it, be slaved to social media, but actually you use social media to serve you.
That's definitely true, Dr. I, about what you said about our role as educators to delineate, of course, the usability of it and in the advantage of student in learning, and also be able to help them understand that this platform are actually effective.
And to follow up on that, and actually, I think it's actually a great way to practice critical thinking. Like my own children and my 8 years old, he's on LinkedIn and he's also selling stuff on eBay. And we use that, frequently he will have spammers. We use that, we practice critical thinking. Hey, how can you tell this person is a spammer? And should you connect with this person or should you not? Or in my classroom, like if something bad happened to me, if I got like bullied online or this or that, and I will share my student, hey guys, guess what? This actually happened. This is how I'm actually approaching this in a very professional way, right? So as opposed to, we don't talk about this when a student is indeed being bullied, they don't know how to handle this. Like they retreat, right? They were like thinking about hurting themselves, committing suicide, this, and that.
Yes.
I would rather to, hey, this also happened to me. This is how I handle the situation. So at least they have some positive role models to follow, or like to ask, I actually have this question. Most parents have no idea what's going on with social media. So students, their only role model is their peers. Like, yeah, they're only reinforcing similar behaviors. So I want to show up as a positive role model to show how you can use technology for good, but at the same time, be careful, right? Be critical about this platform.
Yeah.
And I want to add on. Oh, sorry, Glenn. Let me add one more thing. It's like there's this idea, myth, I want to call it, that just because you're under 18 or you're really young, that automatically you're good at IT, social media, all that stuff. That's not necessarily true. I'm not saying that it's one way or the other, but for us, we really have to get ahead of the curve. Because in a lot of cases, it's going to be a sink or swim. I mean, the technology here,
Oh my God, I have so much to say about that. I even did a paper on this. Just because our children have grown up with technology, it does not make them digitally savvy in terms of using social media as a career building, professional development, digital networking tool. They have no idea. It is a learned skill. Just like I have to show you, you are learning this. Our students are the same. It is a learned skill. But the problem is we don't have enough educators who truly understand the power of social media so they can model positive behaviors and teach their children. Most teachers, at least those that I have been working with, they just think, social media is the root of all evil. Stay away from it.
This is the quote I wanted to say about
anyway. Right?
Okay. I don't mean to cut you off again, and we've kind of gone over time, but I will tell you this, like, I'm actually, this is before the talk even, I said, well, I reached out to you and you responded, so quickly, which then I knew, this is someone who's got it together. They know what's going on. I'm actually looking to talk to, I don't want to call him an old friend, but someone I've worked with before, and he's a geologist from William and Mary, and he's done a lot of work in Oman, which is where we are. So I'm looking to get him to come on. And this is kind of like some of the things, and this is outside of the classroom, of course. So if you want to come to it, you come to it. If you don't want to come to it, you don't come to it. And I think this is kind of like the type of things you're advocating for, right?
Yeah, definitely, right? Like making those connections. And I'm also an advocate that teachers need to become practitioners. And so we can, the gap between what is happening in the classroom and what is happening in real life is huge. And I think to close that gap, educators play a big, very, very important role that we have to become a practitioner. I wasn't a practitioner, but after I became a practitioner, I see a huge difference in my own class, including the speakers I'm bringing to the classroom and the opportunities that I'm bringing to my students. Incredible. And also my own knowledge. I used to teach PR, social media marketing, but I was only teaching to the book, right? But now I run a business. I do this. So I know, like I have personal stories to share with my students, and just like a lot more interesting to listen to you talk. So I agree. I think teachers, school leaders need to invest, right? Not just only looking at academic publications, but actually to encourage teachers to become practitioners. And so they can teach what is relevant. Look at what it's doing to Google. Like there are 3 years ago, one education futurist at Harvard University, he predicted 50% of American colleges and universities will go bankrupt in the next 10 years. So he made the prediction in 2018. And COVID has definitely accelerated that. Now with Google and all those amazing like companies being part of the game, because onboarding a fresh college grad is way too expensive for those companies. So it makes no sense for them to teach the children to unlearn what they have learned from school and relearn. They should just teach them this is the right way, do this. So I think more schools are going to go bankrupt, and more organizations are going to be, taking a pie from higher education, a slice of the pie from higher education. So teachers, school leaders, they need to feel a sense of urgency. If they don't interrupt, if they don't innovate, if they do not disrupt, they will be disrupted by the disruption. So it's really important. I see that, I have friends who are just like losing jobs and full-time teachers because the schools have no students. And just in the United States, I run an alternative school. There are so many alternative schools, and then Google have their own certifications, IBM, HubSpot. So why do I send my children to a school where there's a huge gap? My children are not learning what really matters, but I'm paying so much tuition. But then there's this alternative school. My students can actually learn from real-time, real-life practitioners with a much shorter time frame and much cheaper cost. Yeah, of course, right? And more schools, companies are going to delete the requirements of a college degree. So if I were a school principal, I would feel like, yeah, let's do something big, disrupt or be disrupted.
Dr. I, one last question, I think so we can wrap up after this. This is actually very specific since majority of us are in the healthcare field, and a component of our teaching is a laboratory or a skills or a psychomotor related learning. What do you suggest for us, like if we go for online teaching, what tools or platform can we use in order for us to, as much as possible, deliver this psychomotor or skill-based lessons to our students?
Yeah, I mean, like in terms of online platforms, and I shared Parrot Deck earlier, so that is a way for you to engage with the students. I also love if you have to do lots of drawing, on like Zoom, you have that whiteboard. You can use one that I have, or you can just use the Zoom. They have their own whiteboard. You can just like do drawing like that to illustrate your points. I think that's enough. I don't feel like people need to be overly concerned about what technology they are using, because it is not technology that is going to transform the student. It's actually the human being behind the screen that is going to facilitate the transformation. So I think, you know, like the technology that we do have right now is good enough. It's more than enough. And what we do need to improve is how we can make our classes more engaging, right? I showed you some exercises and how I can create a better community to make learning more engaging, more relevant, more fun to the students. Yeah. Also for students, you know, for healthcare professionals, I also encourage students to share what they have learned from the classroom, from their teachers with the general public, right? Can you actually translate what you have learned from your classes into like everyday language so people can actually understand what you do? And they can do that. They can do, like, I personally follow quite a few doctors and healthcare professionals on YouTube, and I have learned so much from those people. And I think it's a great way, you know, using video and to showcase, hey, this is what COVID means. This is what you do this is how you clean your hands. So educate the general public, right? They can do LinkedIn videos. They can even start their own podcast, you know, educating the general public using what they have learned. So I would do all those things and to make learning more effective.
Oh, okay. I think that wraps up our question and answer. So I think there's another one question from Miss Saida. She's also in the US. She's studying in University of Iowa right now. Is there any platform that can be used to overcome any internet disconnections?
I wish I knew that. I'm sorry. I don't. Yeah. But that's a great question. Once you discover that, let me know. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because I
my
think,
Wi-Fi, yeah, I have had my share of Wi-Fi problems. Yeah.
yes,
I
I
don't
think this
know.
is one challenge that our learners are facing right now, like because this remote learning has
Yeah.
affected also the way we actually engage with the student, because some of them, they don't have that stable internet connection. So I think in the future,
Yes.
maybe we'll
Yeah.
have,
So what I have heard from some other schools and for children who don't really have internet connection. So those people who do have the internet connection, they will actually write everything on a piece of paper and they will actually deliver to those people who don't have internet connection. I was like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, sorry, I just got one in. Let me just get this one for you real quick, Dr. AI. This is a question. We are using facts in our research. How can we integrate life experiences in our research? So I don't, you know, that's the question.
You mean, so you mean like, so you're talking, can you restate your question again?
Yeah, sure. Just a sec. Sorry about that. It says we are using facts in our research. How can we integrate life experience in our research?
You mean like,
So
so like, I feel like when you are doing research, you don't need, you don't develop life skills or like, right? When
it
you are
comes
doing
when you
research.
present.
What's that?
I'm not sure. I said maybe it comes when you present.
So
That's your
yeah,
life.
like,
Go ahead.
so present the research, or I think, you know, what I remember the days while I was doing research, I was like doing surveys, analyzing data, and talking to people using qualitative and quantitative. I think that is like incorporating life skills. And again, as I shared earlier, right, if I'm only doing like, if in my research, there's no human being involved, and maybe that's what you're asking, if there's no human being involved in my research, and I think a way to add more life skill is that, okay, there's the reason for us to do research is to make our society a better place, right? So what are some implications of the research that you have done? Can you actually present your implications to others, right? Can you teach us how to apply the implications to improve certain situations? I think when you do that, and again, like with COVID, everyone is spending so much time online. I really recommend just like go live, right? So like what we're doing right now, you are going live. You're like, hey guys, I just did this research. I studied this, and that. So here are the implications. This is what you do at home when you are running into this situation. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 5. And if you have people join your live, you can have a live interaction with those people. You are articulating your research, articulating implications. By the same time, you are also building that collaboration, communication skills, and answering people's questions and interacting with a live audience. So
True.
I don't
I
know.
agree. I agree.
And that is a great way. And actually, I really appreciate those people because I'm not a very strong quantitative. So when I was a PhD student, I did mostly qualitative research. And I really appreciate those people who translate. How many people are going to read a very dry technical research article? Very few, right? But if you can translate that into a popular blog article, oh, people are like, wow, this is so interesting, right? Like, for example, in education, I know a study, and it's like super chicken. And I don't know if you heard of this. So it's actually a biologist. So he did a study, and I so appreciate that he actually translated the study into an everyday language. So people like me, oh my God, this is the implication of the study, amazing. So quickly, let me explain the study. It was really interesting. So a biologist wanted to study chicken to see how many eggs they actually lay, how their reproduction, right? How reproductive they are and how many eggs they can lay. So the researchers separate the chicken into two groups. One is the super chicken. They are already producing more eggs. They are just like better. So the other one is the average. They don't have such a high level of productivity. They lay fewer eggs. So they studied the chicken for 6 generations. So after 6 generations, they discovered the super chicken group, they ended up attacking each other, killing each other. Not only do they not produce more eggs, but only 3 actually survived out of the super chicken group. In contrast, the average chicken group, they're all like laying more eggs, they're happier, they're doing better. So the implication, in education, so students in like super competitive environment, they are like attacking each other, killing each other, but students in like the average so-called school district, they're actually doing better. And you can also bring the implication to the corporate environment, right? I grew up in a super chicken academic environment. The damage was pretty deep on my emotional well-being, on my mental health. And the research has shown students just came out last year, students who are attending high achieving schools, they have more issues with drug abuse, alcohol abuse, sexual abuse, addiction, compared to students attending the average school district. So here's an example, right? This super chicken, super technical, but this person translated, and this article got published in Inc. magazine, Forbes, and everyone was like, wow, amazing. So I think if you can encourage students to do that, right? Like translate their jargons, like nobody understands language, into popular mainstream language, and maybe even get published in mainstream articles like Forbes, Inc. That'll be like, wow, you can help a lot more people. And then developing life skills for sure.
Doctor, I think we still have time for one last question. This is a question coming from our colleague, Mr. Hassan. Students are using different social media apps, and they always want their favorite social media app to be implemented for the online teaching. One app may be user-friendly for one student, but not for others. What do you suggest? What do you suggest to bring them on one platform?
Yeah, I love this question. So what I do, if this were my situation in my class, I love collaborative learning, collaborative parenting, collaborative teaching. So I involve my students, to co-design the curriculum. Like if I have already decided to use Facebook, for example, I will ask the students, hey, can you guys show me, like you want to use this app? Why is this app good? How is this app going to benefit our own class? And ask the student to do a survey, and how many students are like in favor of this app. So let the students do the work and then present a case. And maybe if you have like a group of students, you can, you can make this a group project, right? So those students, they love this app, those students love this app, and you ask them to do a presentation, and then the winning case will select the app that they have selected. So as a class, we're going to use that. So you're making a decision in a very democratic manner, and students are also gaining important life skills, learning to do persuasive presentation, building a case, developing their argument. At the same time, everyone votes on the decision. So you are not practicing favorism, like everyone has a chance. Then this is a collective decision, and everyone will have a chance to learn some new additional apps. That's how I would handle this.
Thank you so much, Dr. I, for that very informative and very important message and answers for the questions. So I think we've already answered most of the question. So as a part of our appreciation, Dr. I hope you are here with us in person in Oman, but in grateful appreciation of your efforts for connecting with us and having us as a part of your teaching. It's our honor to present you this digital certificate. I will be sending it to you through email. Thank you
That
so
is
much.
so cool. This is the first time I give a talk. I actually got a certification. Thank you.
So I would like to thank you in behalf of our Associate Dean, Dr. Muna Adsun, of course, Mr. James, thank you very much for connecting with Dr. I and making it possible for us to do this engagement with her. I hope in the future as well, not only
Yeah, I hope
online.
to visit you guys in person. I have a dear friend in Oman, so
Yes,
I would love
yes.
to visit in person someday. Yeah.
So you are very much welcome to visit us in Oman. So it's been a very fruitful night. Thank you so much for the attendees who actually participated in this online session. For those who attended the webinar, please fill out the evaluation form. This is a Google form that will allow you to get your digital certificate once you complete the information. Your correct email and full name, it will be sent directly into your email account. Mr. James, do you have something else to say to wrap up?
No, just thanks. It was really fun. Thanks
Yes.
for connecting. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Dr. I, for connecting with us. And we hope to see you in our upcoming webinars and, of course, in person. Thank you so much for the participants. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Bye bye.